Composite is a full-featured image and animation compositing program based on Autodesk's Toxic software technology. If you don't have Composite open, go ahead and open it now. We're going to get a little bit familiar with the program before we use it. This is not going to be an extensive how-to session on the program, but it'll give you a brief overview of the key functional areas and the concepts underlying the program. Composite is a node-based compositing program that allows you to import footage and use that footage for image compositing. The footage can come from 3ds Max or it can come from a variety of other sources. The power of this software is that it allows you to use both standard files like we have in our PNG sequences, or you can use more advanced files like the multi-channel OpenEXR image format with high dynamic range capabilities. Let's take a look at the interface to get a feel for how to navigate around the program. If you want, it would be a good idea for you to take the time and go through the essential skill movies that come with Composite. They offer a very good introduction to the individual features and processes that you'll be using and going through on a regular basis. For now, go ahead and close the Essential Skill Movies dialog, and we're presented with a blank workspace. In order to bring something up on the workspace, we have to create a new composite. Navigate to the File menu, click the New option. This will bring up the Create Composite dialog. We want to place this new file in the vpost directory of our Understanding 3D project directory. Depending on where you copied the directory on your hard drive will depend on where you have to navigate to in order to find it. We want to put this particular composite file into the vpost directory within the Understanding 3D project folder. Go ahead and open the vpost folder. You'll see it here in the directory entry. Let's type in the file name that we're going to use for this composite. Let's name it Final Comp. So we'll type in Final Comp, then click the Create button. Let's take a look at the interface to get an idea of where everything is. At the top we have our main menu. This is rather a sparse menu compared to many other programs, especially 3ds Max. The reason is that there's very little that you actually are going to do with the menu, other than opening, saving, and rendering files. The window on the left is the schematic view. This gives you a visual overview of the connections between the individual nodes that make up your final composite. Each node acts as an operator that works on connected footage. We'll see a little more of this later. On the right side of the screen is our composite output window. This shows us the output of the currently selected node, or it can be made to show the final version of the composite. In the middle is our animation controls. We have the ability to work with keyframes. Composite is also a fully capable 2D animation system. We have the time slider and VCR-style animation controller. The tabs in the lower section give you access to the various tools and options you'll need to adjust. There's a lot of buttons and a lot of options. The most important part of learning any new software is don't get bogged down in the fact that there's so many different options. You only need to use a few tools at a time. Because you only need to use a few tools at a time, you only need to think about the options for the specific tools that you'll be using. So don't worry about learning every single part of the interface, what every button does, what every option is. That would be a waste of time. The hidden component of the user interface is something called the Gate UI. We access this using the middle mouse button. Click the middle mouse button. You'll notice that there are 4 sections: Schematic, Pick List, Schematic Options, and Composition Browser. If you click and drag the middle mouse button across one of the gates, it will open that particular part of the user interface. In this case, let's middle mouse click and drag to the right to open the pick list. The pick list provides access to the tools that you'll be using when creating your composition. There are a large number of tools available to you. Again, don't get bogged down in the fact that there are 1,000 different options. We're only going to be using one. That will be in the composition category, and it will be the blend and comp tool. We'll get to that in a little while. There are a large number of options, and I encourage you to take the time and go through the list and see what options are available. You'll notice when you move your cursor back off the tool palette, it disappears. And in order to get back to the list, you need to use the Gate UI. Before we move on, let's set up some of the options we'll need for the next step in this process. First, we need to configure the size and frame rate of our project. To do this, click on the Composition tab in the lower right-hand side of the interface. Here you'll see the name of our composition, whether it's a composition or footage, and the date it was created. If you want, you can add a description of this composition. We're not going to do that right now. We don't really need to. What we need to set is the format. So click on the Format option, and you'll see if you scroll up and down that we have quite a few options. And we have an option for HD 720p, which is similar to the HDTV option in 3ds Max. Remember though, we didn't render out a full HD 720p resolution image. We chose a resolution of 640 by 360. In the resolution type-in, change the width to 640 and change the height to 360. Then click on the frame rate and choose 24 frames per second. The last parameter that we'll set is the end frame for our composite. If you remember, we rendered frames 0 to 263 in the video post queue. Since the start frame is 1, we want the end frame to be 264. Now this sets the size and duration of our overall composition. Press Ctrl+S to resave the file. This will save our composition with the changes that we've just made.